one more. Putting some of her cute candles in the screen. I'd show you the yellow one, it's my favorite, but the phone's balanced on it. These colors are colors my mom always liked too. Alright. Yellow flowers in the field. Light up this world. Yellow candles in my view. You make me feel true like a song that the world may like. I'm wrong. I would wasted time all my life. The one hand is saying, and I don't know if I should complain like I always do or did before. With the world at my door, it's hard to wait the future that could unfold before my eyes, like yellow light, like yellow light, like yellow, like yellow. How do we know the right way to go? It's clear and yellow. It's clear and yellow. Oh, do you mean to be so bright in my view? Did I want you to? It's pretty peaceful here. Hi, Izzy. Yes, do you hear the dogs? I mean Petey. Sorry, Petey. Swap out the yellow one. There you go. And my new love of blue. Thanks, Heather, for letting me stage colors. Wow. I don't really know. what this is. Well, I know why I started doing this. It was from the 365 songs in 365 days. I was writing a song every day, and about every 10 days or so, maybe twice a month, I started doing what are called check-in videos, because I wanted to capture the feelings. It was mostly a singular feeling. It ended up being about all kinds of feelings. If you want to go back and watch those, you can, because I used to be very introverted and very shy about my songwriting life and only release an album once every 5 years or so. Petey's being cute. And then through the process of sharing a song publicly every single day in 2017, I found I needed to document, like a behind-the-scenes kind of YouTube channel. Behind the scenes of my own process, I needed to document what it was feeling like to be so public after never being that way. I was very, playful kid. I was going to say outgoing, but I wasn't outgoing. I loved, making home movies with my brother and my cousins and my sister, and just doing dances and funny radio plays and whatever, and just documenting things. So I like documenting, but I think until a few years ago, I had a pretty accurate perception of the world that no one would care if I did this, or that this isn't a way to gain fans or be popular or anything. I think I correctly assessed that. So whether or not this might have been fun for me, the negative feelings of being ignored would have been more unfun than whatever fun might have existed. I didn't know that this would be fun for me. I didn't mean to be someone who does this. I just haven't been able to stop yet. So I've gone in phases with it, but I look at it as I have almost a decade now of a hard drive full of these kind of spontaneous songs just thrown into the world, and that honestly, in some ways, YouTube is a way for me to organize it chronologically and also visually, to give me a quick way to just see, oh yeah, that song that I wrote in Southern Indiana that I really liked, the first one out of 3, and things like that. That used to all just happen in my own computer hard drive, because I've been writing hundreds of songs a year since about 2008, maybe. I did a challenge. I recommend this for songwriters, because I used to write about 10 songs a year when I was a kid. I've been writing songs since I was 3 years old. And then, truly, because my dad was a songwriter, and it was just no big deal to make up things. Like, that was what I grew up seeing as normal. And it's not like everyone in my family did it, but I was very drawn to it. And then we took music lessons. Piano was my favorite instrument. Yeah. The rest is history. No, back to the real story. So, I don't remember the real story. I just got distracted by all the cute stuff. Oh yeah. So about 10 songs a year as a kid, as a young adult, at the most 10. And I used to really craft them and fine-tune them, and I loved them, and I would play the same ones over and over again, like in my college dorm room residence hall lobby. I would play the same 5 or 6 songs and really refine them. And I still believe in that. I think it's a great way to be. I do that whenever I'm working on an album I really love. Which this particular phase of my life has been much more wild than that. Like overgrowth. I'm like creating my own overgrowth, and then I'll figure out what to do with what. If there's even a reason to do, I don't know. I might just go teach classes on how to never have writer's block again. Or make a YouTube channel about that. I seriously might. That plus some pop music theory, because a lot of my students really want to skip the 15 years of piano training that I had, and I've been able to get some people to sound really advanced with just like 2 years of study with me, or even less. Anyway, that's a tangent. So my point is, in 2008 I did an online thing called 50/90, 50 songs in 90 days. It happens around this time of year, actually, and it's a global thing, so you can look that up if you want something to push you. I started writing songs that were nothing like what I normally would write. They had some nonsense lyrics in them, but I did it. I got the 50 songs done in 90 days, and it was actually very intoxicating. It was like a challenge. It was the first time I did a challenge. So before I made up my own challenges, I did actual challenges. And there was a community aspect to it, too. And then soon after, I did one called FOM, February album writing month. I believe there's also one in November too now. And that's 14 songs in 28 days, the February one. I highly recommend that too. Look these up. Like, if you're someone who experiences writer's block, this will just kick you out of it with a community. So then ever since then, that was 2008 maybe, I've been just writing like crazy. I mean, I've undergone lots of other changes that led to that right around 2007 or 2008, but yeah. So then by the time I moved away from Chicago, I had a computer full of albums from writing hundreds of songs a year. I put them up on my jessicafogel.bandcamp.com, but it was a pre-order and I never finished putting it up. But you can see all the song titles, I think, and there's like over 100 funny song titles from the 12 albums that I never released in Chicago. And I released 2 of them, but then those are my main 2, Melancholy Frog and Du Bierstein and Vogel. But then 3 through 12, I just called it Chicago 3 through 12. And then it's just all the titles. And I think there was a pre-order where you could hear some of them. I don't even know if I want to put them up because the recordings are so janky. They were meant to be just for me. And I thought in my weird dreamland that someday I'd remake all of those songs, relearn to play them, re-record them as like professional albums. Like, I was really excited to just go through. One was, the next album coming up is called Time is a Bottle of Dreams That You Store in a Bag of Hope. And I loved that. And then the 4th album was called Turtle Window. And then the 5th album was called We Are Not Dead. And the 6th album was called Vicarious Mint. Oh my gosh, these have weird meanings. And the 7th album was called Rainbow Tweet Tweet. And the 8th album was called The Small Dark Light. Or no, that's 9 or 10. That's 10. The 8th album was called Star Eyes, Songs for Inner and Outer Children. It wasn't for kids at all. The 9th album was called C Words, and all the titles started with C, and that's the first time I made a whole album in one night. I think. Yeah, it is. C Words, and so it was like curious, careless, carefree. Anyway, all the titles were one C word, and the themes were on those themes, and I made it all in my ex's grandpa's bathroom one night. And I loved that album. But I don't love the recordings because those were meant to be scrappy just for me. Those are first time writing ones, but that's before I knew that I was just going to share the first time. Like, that's why the 365 Songs Challenge in 2017 was better for me, because I knew that people were going to hear that version. So I started singing my scrap recordings a little differently. I started singing my scrappy recordings with a little more care, or with a little more awareness that this might be it. I might never sing this song again. I most likely will never sing this song again. So the 700 plus videos on my YouTube, I'll probably never sing most of those songs again. It's just a process. It's like a flow process, and it's how I find the songs that I do love. Okay, back to the list. So then 10 was The Small Dark Light. 11, well, why'd I come back to the list? I don't remember 11. If you go to my old YouTube, Jessica Fogel, F-O-G-L-E, you can actually see me write the entire 11th album from Chicago. I forgot about that. It's called Soft Hearted People. And that was the one that I did as February album writing month, the 11th album. So 3 through 10 actually came just from 50, 90, and, oh no, and I think like a whole year and plus some, and then over a year later I did the FOM, February album writing month. So that's Soft Hearted People. And then album 12 might have been called The Red Album. And there was a song on it called Yellow and Blue, and it was all about the colors yellow and blue. Like the album, the meaning, the deeper meaning of the album. That's why I thought it was funny to call it The Red Album, but whatever. But then I think I changed its name, maybe just to Yellow and Blue. I've had songs that I wrote in Chicago many years before I met Brian, and then had epiphanies with Brian as if I had written them years in advance about Brian. And those were from like album 8 or 9, and they ended up on the Catalysts album for Jessica and the Rainbow. So Jessica and the Rainbow is me taking, I guess, a rainbow assortment of some of my favorite ones from those albums 3 through 12. I cherry-picked my favorites and then gave myself the new name, Jessica and the Rainbow, and then put them on the album Catalyst, and I think that's why I called it Catalyst. I don't remember. There's a song on there called Catalyst, but also I think it's because I realized I was trying to speed up my own life. I had gone through a divorce, and I was like, I just need to not expect myself to record all 10 of those albums. I need to just take my favorites, because the pressure of somehow recording all 10 of those albums, plus I didn't like the 10 albums worth of scrap recordings, so it was like too much pressure, too much future envisioning, and not enough forward movement. So then took my favorites and then went into a studio. Well, first went into my brother's home studio in Corcoran, Minnesota, and then took the bones of that album to a studio in Michigan where I had just moved and gone through some crap. And this is why I always want to get out of Michigan, because that was how I started there. I mean, Michigan was like, I dropped off my ex, and then I, tried to mentally and emotionally survive a really rough divorce. So, while at a job that had its own pretty big problems. It had its own traumas that I was kind of like a plug for. Like the job opening came available very suddenly in a not good way, and I filled that hole, that vacancy, and it was not, I don't recommend that. If a job becomes available because something bad happens with the person in the previous position, like, you will pick up that feeling of trauma, and you will have to process it for them and for the people around you. Like, I don't know, not a good experience at all. But I met some beautiful, beautiful people there. Very beautiful people there. So I don't regret it, because I wouldn't know some of those most beautiful people that I've ever met. And I met Brian in Michigan, so duh, obviously I love it. And I did learn recently, don't hate your own past. Like, if you dislike your own past, you're negating your present. It doesn't work. You'll end up having to heal from your own negative thinking about yourself, or about your past self. So yep, so that's what Catalyst was. It was an album made up of all those past albums. It's only 10 songs. Maybe I picked one from each, but I don't even think I did. I think I didn't care. I just picked 10 I liked. And then, yeah. Then I started working on these songs in 2014 that were supposed to be this album called Everything's True. But then I got very derailed. I got very influenced by some people I love by accident. They didn't even mean to influence me, and I got worried that I was trying to move too fast with albums. And so I paused it. Got really insecure again. Went back into sort of hiding between 2014 and 2016, album-wise. And then in December of 2016, I leaked part of the album that I had been working on, but I kept stalling out on. I was having a friend of mine orchestrate it, Elizabeth Blair, and Hunter Zhao. He was playing cello on it, and he's a brilliant cellist. And yeah, I just sort of dragged that out because I'm very sensitive to other people's opinions, and I shouldn't have listened. Or maybe I should have, I don't know. But then I did this whole weird trajectory instead of 365 songs in 365 days and all these talking videos where I just tell people stuff. But, this is like 18 minutes of unedited rambles, so. But if you're interested in my history of how I became to be so prolific, that's how. I don't think I've ever just said it as a story like that. I mean, but I was prolific from age 3, but it just was like 10, like I said, 10 songs a year, and then picking your favorites and then just playing the same songs a lot. Which I do now for shows, but I don't do just for myself. I don't sit around and play my old songs like I used to. It'd probably be very soothing, but I'm always writing new ones. It's a weird thing. Maybe that's why I feel so ungrounded a lot. like I'm flying too much and I'm not making enough nests. Maybe that's it. Well, those are some ways to unblock. I'm gonna go see what everyone's up to. Brian went disc golfing. I think his mom is at their popcorn store. And I'm gonna finish my cup of coffee and then go do things. Bye!